$1.8 billion. That's the number exploding inside Congress tonight. Senators accusing the administration of choosing who gets paid. Cameras caught the Attorney General frozen. Headlines spread instantly. Trump settles own lawsuit. Picks who gets paid. Gas prices surging, files redacted, names disappearing behind black bars. Then came the accusation that stopped the room cold, looting from the Treasury for his own gain, and one senator delivered the final warning. This is corruption that has never been more blatant. This happened in Congress yesterday. What you just saw is not a movie. It happened yesterday on Capitol Hill. The sitting president of the United States just settled his own lawsuit against his own government for $1.8 billion, and now he gets to personally pick who cashes those checks. A United States senator called it a slush fund. The Attorney General called it routine. But what came next? Involving Epstein victims, nude photos, and a refusal to apologize. That's the part nobody is talking about. Let's walk through exactly what happened, moment by moment.
Acting Attorney General, right now, families are paying $4, $5, even $6 or $7 for gas. Inflation is at its highest level in years because of the president's policies. But instead of helping Americans get by, President Trump is literally using their tax dollars to set up a slush fund to enrich his own friends.
Quick context. This $1.8 billion comes from a lawsuit Trump filed against the DOJ. He's now the one being paid by the DOJ. He's both sides.
On Monday, your department settled the president's lawsuit by setting up a fund with $1.8 billion, and you and the president will pick the handful of people who decide how that money gets doled out. So let's be clear. What we're talking about is nothing short of the sitting president of the United States looting from the Treasury for his own gain. Do you seriously think this arrangement is appropriate? The president telling the federal government to settle a case and let him pay billions to the people that he chooses?
What you just described wouldn't be appropriate, and that's absolutely not what happened, and that's not what's happening now. So you just set up a series of facts, most of which were not true.
No,
No, it's not. I mean,
the president has set up a slush fund, however you want to say that it got set up, and he literally will get to choose through his hand-picked appointees who gets paid that fund. That is absurd.
The president did not set up this fund. It's not a slush fund. It's been done many times. We have lots of funds.
Well, I heard your response earlier to Senator Van Hollen. This is not comparable to the case that you cited. A judge was not involved. This is the president versus himself setting up a fund.
The judge wasn't involved in the distribution in the Keep Siegel case at all. It just wasn't. There was a single commissioner that was set up, not five. And so when
the judge signed off on that case.
Yes, it was at a much later point in the litigation.
That's
right.
my point. That is all of our point. And I just have to tell you, this is corruption that has never been more blatant or more widespread. What is happening is you write the check, Trump and his cronies cash it, American taxpayers who are already being whacked with high prices are going to foot the bill. That's what we are seeing today, and that is what many of us are really, really angry about. So let me move to another topic. This Department of Justice is sending the message that if you're wealthy, if you're powerful, if you are well-connected, you won't be held accountable even if you abuse children. You know, it's after Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act and DOJ finally began to release the files, your department exposed survivors' names, their sensitive personal information, and even nude photos, while redacting names of alleged perpetrators of those crimes. The message that sends is this Department of Justice worked harder to protect the privacy of potential child abusers than the survivors. Your predecessor refused to apologize to those victims, but I want to give you the same opportunity to apologize for the way the department handled the release of these documents. Will you apologize to the survivors?
When the president passed the Epstein Transparency Act, that was the
Pardon
only
me?
time, when the president signed the Transparency Act, that was when we were legally allowed to release the files. Prior to the passage of the act, which you all passed, I agree.
That is
we
so
were
not the question I'm asking.
It was the question you
the
asked. You
point
asked
that-
5 or 6 questions. I'm answering them in order.
No,
that was one of the questions you
the
asked.
question I want you to answer is, will you apologize to the victims whose names, sensitive personal information, and even nude photos were not redacted by your department? Will you
Of
apologize to
course,
them?
that was, we
Can I
never want to
hear it
release
today?
a single
That
victim's
is what they
name.
are hearing
But
to
can I
want
answer
to
the question,
hear.
please? Is it
I'm
fair?
asking if you'll apologize.
So I just said yes, but I would like an explanation to be given to that. What this act did is it required us to review over 6 million pieces of paper in a very short period of time. And so 0.001%, we made mistakes and we owned up to them. And the second that a victim or their lawyer told us that we made a mistake, we pulled that document down and we put lawyers 24/7 in being responsive to victims and their lawyers to make sure that we fixed every single problem. And so yes,
I
mistakes
hear
were-
your anger.
I'm not
and I
angry.
will
No, I'm not
tell you-
angry.
I hear
I'm
your
just
anger,
making sure
and I
it's
will tell you
understood
who's really
that
angry is
we
people who had
matter,
their
that-
nude photos released. I just want to hear you say, I apologize to those victims.
So as I just said, of course, any time we release a victim's name that shouldn't be released, we have failed as a Department of Justice. And so we have to do everything that we can to not fail.
Well,
And so
I haven't heard the words, I apologize.
I'm trying to give you
those
an
victims.
explanation of what happened. I don't think you're
Okay.
really interested in that because you keep
Well,
on
I
cutting
am,
me
but
off.
I have a few more questions here, and I want to know, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this, but I want to ask, will you personally commit to meeting with the survivors? I have heard from them personally that DOJ refused to meet them, and I'm asking about you. I'm asking about the Justice Department reaching out to them to be heard, not waiting for them to navigate a legal system that has obviously repeatedly failed them so far.
Can I answer?
Yeah, will you reach out to them?
So as we have said repeatedly, of course, any lawyer, now if a victim has a lawyer, I'm not allowed to reach out to the victim directly, you know that. But any lawyer can reach out to the Department of Justice. They have, and I've met with many victims and their lawyers, as has the FBI, as has the SDNY. We will always meet with victims' counsel. Any victim or their lawyer can come forward to the FBI
with these
at any
women,
time.
and I've met with them, and I know Senator Van Hollen has, and so many other. They are personally so feeling abused again and again by what happened to them originally, and now but what's happening by them. I am saying to you, as a human being, who don't make them navigate a system that is impossible to navigate, that's already abused them. Reach out and ask to meet with them.
Wait, you're
That is
asking
all
me
I'm
to
asking
call, you want me to personally call the victims? Is that
I
what
can
you're asking
help
me to
you
do?
reach them.
Oh, that would be great. Yes, because we have said
And
from
you
day
will meet
one,
with them if
of
I reach
course,
out to you.
there have been members that have done that. And we immediately reach out to the victims or their lawyers when the lawyers want
Well,
and they say they want to do it.
We will follow up on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's strip away the political theater and look at what just happened. The President of the United States sued the Department of Justice, his own Department of Justice, over investigations from years ago. Then, after taking office, his administration settled that lawsuit for $1.8 billion of taxpayer money. And here's the part that should stop you cold. The president and his hand-picked appointees decide which victims of those investigations get a slice of that $1.8 billion. That's not a settlement. That's not even a slush fund in the traditional sense. That's the Treasury writing a blank check to a president who controls the people cashing it. Now here's the detail almost every news outlet skipped. Blanche tried to compare this to the Keep case, a previous settlement where a fund was created. The senator caught it instantly. In that case, a judge signed off. In that case, there was one commissioner, an independent. In this case, 5 appointees, all chosen by the president. No judge in the distribution. That's not precedent. That's a custom-built financial pipeline. And Blanche couldn't defend the comparison the moment she pulled the receipts. And then the hearing turned. Because here's what people need to understand. When Congress forced the DOJ to release the Epstein files, the department had a duty of care, a duty duty to redact victim names, to protect survivors who were trafficked as children. Instead, and the senator confirmed this on the record, names were exposed, personal information leaked, and nude photos of victims were released publicly, while the names of alleged perpetrators were redacted. Read that again. The Department of Justice worked harder to protect the privacy of potential child abusers than the children they abused. Blanche's defense: 6 million pages, 0.0001% error rate. That's not a defense. That's a spreadsheet. Watch the apology moment again, frame by frame. The senator asked 4 times, and Blanche kept saying, "I'm giving you an explanation." That's the pattern of a trained litigator. He is a former defense attorney, by the way. Never say the words "I apologize" on the record, because those words become evidence. He acknowledged failure. He said, "We made mistakes." He never apologized. That's not an accident. That's legal strategy in a Senate chair. So here's what you need to ask yourself. If a president can sue his own government, settle the case for nearly $2 billion, and personally pick who cashes the checks, what stops the next one from doing the same thing for $10 billion? 20? And if the DOJ can expose child trafficking victims while shielding their abusers, and the Attorney General won't even say the words "I apologize," what does accountability even mean anymore? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Do you believe this was a mistake, or is this exactly the system working as designed? Hit subscribe if you want the follow-up, because Blanche just committed on the record to personally meeting with Epstein survivors. We're going to track whether that actually happens, and if it doesn't, you'll hear about it here first.